our recent visit to the Yotta data center in Navi Mumbai, we managed to have a conversation at length with Mr. Sunil Gupta, who has been called the data center man of India.
Let me just put it in very simply. We all are users of data centers indirectly, even without knowing about it. You are right now possibly using WhatsApp. Somebody else may be using Instagram. Somebody else may be using Snapchat. Somebody may be booking a ticket on Make My Trip. Somebody may be booking a ticket in Uber. We may be watching a film on Netflix at our home and our TV. Or we may be doing a net banking, checking at our bank account. Somebody may be using a SAP, doing her professional work, or emails. So our clicks from our mobile or desktop are taking our network, that 2G or 3G or 4G network. It's going somewhere, right, to the network provider's so-called node. From there, it's taking some fiber. And that fiber ultimately is ending somewhere, where that information, which you are either uploading or downloading, is stored and getting processed. That place is data center. It's as simple as that. Any and every digital transaction which we are doing in our personal life or professional life today, on our mobile, on our desktop, on our laptop, on our smart TVs, all those transactions have got only three components: a device, a network in between, and the backend. That backend is data center. I think now you understand that all of us are using data center every moment. That data center can be in India, right? That data center can be overseas, but there is a data center. Now, because anything and everything is happening in a digital way, the size and scale of the infrastructure required at the backend as data center also need to be growing exponentially. There was a time when the whole of Indian data, maybe due to lack of the good quality data centers, was hosted in data centers in US. I'm possibly talking about late 90s and early 2000s. When this network wave 2G, 3G started coming in our lives, then e-commerce started coming in our lives with Flipkarts and all, the industry started growing. People realized we need to have good data centers. So the players started building some capacities, good data centers. 2013-14 was the time when all this acquired a good mass. We had 4G speeds, we had the geo effect, so fiber started coming in our homes. We had the Flipkart and Amazon.in phenomena that we started having e-commerce in our lives. The combined effect of all this was that suddenly even the cloud operators like Amazon, Google, Azure, they realized that if they have to tap a big market like India, they cannot serve it from outside of India. We need to rather create our clouds in India, right? Cloud is not actually a cloud as we know. Cloud essentially still means some hardware and software functionality, right? Which we give to the end customers to run their applications. And that hardware and software ultimately still runs in a physical building, which also is a data center. Since last 6 or 7 years, we have seen this industry growing like crazy. A capacity, if I talk our data center capacity in a language of what we call as megawatt, that how much power our building consumes, that's how we measure our data center capacity. An industry which was just about 200 megawatt in 2014 has already become almost 600 megawatt as we speak in a matter of 7 years. Given the various market drivers, given that 5G also is now coming in our life, which will increase the speeds of downloads and uploads maybe 50 times or 100 times. And machines will increasingly start using internet, smart machines, our homes becoming smart, the cities becoming smart cities. We possibly will get connected cars, driverless cars also. They all will generate data and give into data centers. With all these things, and government obviously coming with data protection bill, that the Indian data necessarily need to reside in Indian data center and not outside because various geopolitical reasons. And the government also is very comfortable, or rather I would say government is very, quite clear on this, that the data center capacity in India now from this 500, 600 megawatt onwards, from this scale, it need to possibly grow to 3000 megawatt or beyond in the next 5 years. So if you see, we already have grown 3 times and we are talking about growing another 6 to 7 times in the next 5 or 6 years. So that is where I think, ultimately is all dependent on increasing digitalization in your life, personal and professional, and data center being the underlying infrastructure which is supporting the digital story, this actor suddenly has become very, very interesting. As I said, that there are many, many things we use in our lives and we don't know where these are coming from, right? Because essentially we are still B2B. I may not be serving a consumer directly, but I'm serving those companies who in turn are serving the customer, right? So I may not make the names, but for example, I tell you, if you are using net banking to check into your account, to do some money transfer and all, there are good chances that those banks are actually running out of Yotta data center. So that is one direct example of how I'm serving something. If that bank goes down, consumers cannot do net banking. And so all the comfort in our life, which we become used to do all the money transfer quickly and all the stuff, will go for a toss if the backend data center is not of a good quality to keep the bank live 24/7. We have a large stock exchange running in our data center, right? Because stock exchange, obviously, as increasingly people are getting more and more into alternative modes of investment, and stock exchange is one of such options. They are also growing big time, so their IT infrastructure need to grow big time. Because of that, their captive data center which they're running so far are not enough. So stock exchanges have started moving into data center, and we are running one of the stock exchange, for example. So again, if assume in the peak period when, let's say, the trading activity is happening, and at that time something happens to the data center, right? The trading activity stops, and what type of losses people can suffer if that is not the case. So that is another example of that. There are many manufacturing companies, there are fintech companies, there are healthcare companies, there are hospitals. Many of these companies are running out of our data centers. There is a media company which is creating content, cartoons, graphics, all these things out of, a special service I give, like the GPU-based power workstations. What customers want, again, I'm not talking about the end consumer, right? End consumer still will consume the service of some app or some software developer. But these app makers, software developers also say, I don't want to consume your building. Right? I don't want to get into the hassles of putting my own hardware and putting my own network. You should deliver me a ready-made IT infrastructure. So what Yotta has done in this last 2 years, we are creating a whole lot of IT services on the top of my data center. So which essentially I'm referring to cloud. So private cloud, public clouds, hybrid clouds, PaaS services, SaaS services, very packaged services which these B2B companies can consume and launch their product, what they are going to take to end consumers in a very quick way. Even if they want to test something, test it out 2-3 months. If they succeed, they should be able to grow very fast. If they are not successful, they should be able to retire it without, spending a fortune on that. So this is the way I'm actually enabling a whole lot of very large enterprises or small startups, in turn taking their products, interesting products, to the end customers. That's what I would say is my contribution as Yotta, as a backend provider to the end customer. There can be 3 or 4 challenges. One is that, as I said, that behind that digitization, that IT layer, there is a underlying infrastructure layer, right? And that leads you to deal with land procurement, getting multiplicities of approvals, getting power connections, getting approvals for storing so much of fuel, getting environmental clearances, things like that. And while I would say a whole lot of ease of doing business part which government is driving has happened, still at a ground level, it's still a way to go before these things become very, very smooth in India. It takes time. We actually got born when COVID also got born at the same time. So you have to do the construction when there are thousands of workers working on your building, and suddenly COVID strikes you, and that happens with us. We were at the peak of our construction of this building when COVID had struck. We also got delayed by 3 months. But I would say, other than this, the real problem which I think every industry faces, which IT industry faces, but in this case, it is the underlying data center construction part of our business faces, is the shortage of the real skill sets. So while IT part of the business faces that as an eternal thing, which we all know for last 20 years, all IT companies face the shortage of the real skilled people. But what I'm referring to is the people who really understand the designing and engineering and operations of the underlying data center. Because this industry was small till about 7-8 years back, right? The people who could really understand this business end to end and who could understand the nitty-gritties and intricacies of constructing a building like this were very few. So today, if you ask me in the industry, we can actually count these fingers. Possibly they will not go into double digit, right? And even if we take their second layer, you will not count them beyond 100, right? For an industry of this scale, which is supposed to become 7 times, this is a scary scenario, right? So what we are doing now again as an industry is that you try to take people from allied industries. Somebody may be working in a chemical industry, somebody may be working in a nuclear plant, somebody may be working in a road construction industry, or some other allied industry, and you try to do that. We have hired a whole lot of people directly from campuses. We actually are giving them stay facilities, and that again becomes a hallmark of how Yotta is operating. We are creating an ecosystem. So all my freshers are staying, we give them full free food and stay and all the facilities they want. They're walking to work and we are nurturing them like anything, so that by the time it is 6 months or 9 months or 12 months, they literally have started delivering. And I'm very proud to see that youngsters are delivering as good as possibly a person with 7 or 8 years experience. So these are the things we are doing. But fundamentally, I say that problem will be there, especially when you're into IT field, digital field, where every 3 months, the things are changing. How you adapt to those changes, quickly understand that your laurels of the past cannot take you further, and you have to keep on learning, keep on adapting, and keep on finding new ways of doing things. I think that's where we'll succeed. Fundamentally, it will boil down to 3 or 4 things. Again, the root is digital India is the need. Digital India is a 1-2 words, but it encompasses so much of things, everything in our personal and professional life, right? For that to sustain, whole lot of innovation will happen at the mobile device level, at the sensor level, at the smart machine level. And there are a whole lot of startups and good companies who are doing work there. Whole lot of innovation will happen in taking that information which is happening in our devices to the backend, that is where the 5G is coming in our life, and good network, the broadbands are coming in our life. Jios and Airtels of the world are doing good job there. The third element is as or maybe more critical, which is the backend data center, which is data center and everything which is running in the data center, which is cloud layer and the IT layer. Pure from a statistics point of view, if Indian data center industry is 600 megawatts today, right? These are not very like the numbers which normally you want to quote the $1 billion and all, but I'm just giving you from purely raw point of view. This 600 megawatt, which is represented by maybe 100, 150 odd data centers in India, this need to become 3000 megawatt, which is like 5 times or 6 times from today in the next 5 years. Now it is easier said than done, because making a one building like this, which is around 30 megawatt building, I did it in 1 year, but typically it is a 3 years phenomenon. So if a 30 megawatt building needs 3 years to create, this is a very complex thing. I'm talking about 3000 megawatt. So it means hundreds of buildings, each building taking 3 years to get completed. So it means not only Yotta, maybe out of the 3000, we are taking a mandate of 800 to 1000 megawatt. That's the mandate we are taking, which is, I would say, reasonably big plate we are trying to take for ourselves. But it is all the existing operators. There are good existing operators in India who are working, who are also scaling up their infrastructure. There are other Indian conglomerates, like Indian Adani has come into the business. They are also going to contribute their bit quite a lot. And there are global operators who are coming. Either they are trying to make their data center greenfield, or they are trying to buy the small Indian operators and then trying to scale that up. So I think all of these will have to contribute big time in scaling this 600 megawatt spread over 150 building to 3000 megawatt will be spread over thousands of buildings. So that is absolutely raw which India needs. Second, I think what India also needs, which I think I can see a whole lot of government focus also, while the IT layer on the top of this data center, which is represented by cloud, that void has been filled quite a lot by Amazon, by Azure, by Google, and many providers like this. We do need a Indian alternative also to this cloud operators, because they will always be considering the latest geopolitical situations where we see countries getting isolated because of the stance they take, or the border face-off. We see India and China having face-offs and things like that. So and so many times we see that that on social media certain things will be happening like fake news, manipulation of elections and things like that. The government will feel that the Indian data processing has to be stored and processed in India only, because of all the right reasons. Because tomorrow, if something like that happened to India, India should be self-sustained in its data processing. Nobody should be able to tomorrow say that I'm switching you off. Because of various these real good reasons, you need to have Indian cloud operator as well, in which some such data with the government feels is absolutely need to be in Indian hands, should be processed and stored and not anywhere else. So how people like us, whether it is Yotta, it can be some software company scaling themselves up, it can be some other company scaling it up, are able to come to the scales of Amazons and Googles. And it's not easy said that, I'm also speaking right now, so I can say it very easily. Not easy. Those companies have put like thousands of people, they spend billions of dollars, right? And so much of intelligence has gone into that to come to where they are today. So if we are able to create that infrastructure, 60-70% of that in the next couple of years, and deliver to our startups, to our enterprises, and to our governments, equivalent of what these guys are giving, I think that is something, is a big need of the hour. And that is where is the second mandate which we had taken as Yotta, that not only we create this data center infrastructure at central level, we create edge data centers, but we also create the IT services layer on the cloud layer on the top of that. Again, I'm not giving you lots of numbers, but I'm selling from a strategic level that this is what India needs actually. One is that the centralized data centers and the edge data centers, right, together will be enabling these use cases, right? Because you are not talking about machines using internet, the internet of things, instead of people using internet, right? And for machines to use internet and work in real time, right, in microseconds, you need that 5G connection in the last mile, and you need the edge data center in last mile. So there'll be AI intelligence in the device itself, like in the car itself. Car cannot even wait to give it to the local data center. It has to happen in the car itself. So there'll be some AI, sort of a computer running the AI sort of a algorithm in the car itself. There'll be a whole lot of processing happening in the edge data center, and then there'll be a whole lot of processing happening at the center level. So one part is that these data centers contributing to enable these use cases. The second part is ultimately these data centers themselves are machines coming together to create this infrastructure. I have so much of UPSs, generator sets, transformers. I have done so much of automation in ensuring that before any problem occurs anywhere in the building, I get to know proactively, and I'm able to take a some step to rectify that problem beforehand, before it becomes a problem. Now, as of now, it is humans like us who are teaching our automation system how to detect a problem and how to then mitigate that. What AI will bring in, what IoT maybe we are using even now, sensors giving me idea, and then I get into some sort of a control room and I do that. What this AI coupled with AI, IoT will bring in is we are not applying human intelligence to tell a machine what to do. Machine will learn on its own. Machine will be getting the backend machine, or you can call it a machine learning device or a AI algo, or whatever you want to call it. That will be continuously getting data from all the devices in my building, whether it is the underlying electrical and cooling devices or physical security cameras or IT devices. Based on that plethora of data they are getting, the machine is itself learning what is the right behavior of the machine and what is the deviant behavior of the machine. And the moment they say deviant behavior, obviously some human intelligence will come in that, okay, you need to raise the alarm on this deviant behavior, and that alarm need to be raised to what and what action need to be taken, right? We already have taken, I would say, the baby steps toward that direction, but the real I think journey we have to do, where we start applying that whatever data through my IoT devices which I'm getting even now, how do I create that machine intelligence on the top of that instead of human beings trying to take a call on that?
In addition to this interview, Team Digit was given an all-access pass to the Yotta NM1 data center in Mumbai. To see how this data center operates, check out a more detailed video in the link above. While you have your attention, also remember to hit the subscribe button below for our latest videos. That's all for now. Thank you for watching and have a great day.